Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Marcos and Marxism. Kasama natin of course yung usual suspects natin, National Treasure Ronald Llamas, and of course our flamboyant Maoist na just Sensei Walden Bello. Yeah. But just to balance, kasi meron tayong ganon. Kailangan natin ng military historian. Yan, kasama. Si JC, yun ang tawag ko sa iyo ngayon.
Jesus Christ!
JC. And then of course, I don't know kung gusto pa rin sa mama. I think nag-iisip ako sa sali siya.
Parang ayaw magpakita ni Lourd.
Oo.
Yung pick-up point kung sa kayo nag-end last.
Yun, exactly. So, we have a poet in residence.
And artist.
Oo, Kadodong. Yeah. We went.
Masyado siyang ma-artist.
Yun. So,
Lourd Veyra.
So in the two previous episodes we had, we discussed Gramsci, and then we discussed Marx, we discussed Marcos, but also yung Philippine political left. Pero bago tayo magbardagulan about the Philippines and the third force, kasi Sir Walden, marami kang mga tapos nagte-text si Ronald sa akin, baka gusto mong Before tayo pupunta siya, let's start with something not very controversial. Walden, what is your read of what just happened in Venezuela the other day? I mean, you have visited Venezuela. I think Hugo Chavez used to call you El Profesor.
Pinofesay na niya noong December 27.
Delayed Can you tell the story, by the way? The story of your story.
Kaso tinamad siyang ipadala.
Ayun talaga.
No?
Dapat nag-podcast na siya.
Niya 8 hours before the attack. Ganun talaga.
Sana nag-polymarket ka, di yumaman ka.
Pag tinatamad ka, yan ang epekto. Pero nakahabol pa rin siya sa kasaysayan.
Yun. Dapat gayan mo si Ronald, nag-aapat na podcast everyday, tapos by the third podcast, pag turn ko, lobat na agad, tapos nag-intermission ako ng 40 minutes like Donald Trump.
Lobat yung laptop, hindi ako.
Ayun tayo.
Diba? Emotional pa ako
Lobat lang siya pag ikaw yung kasama.
Parang pansin ko parang sa akin nauubusan siya talaga. No? Anyway, yes, let's go to your story. Yung Boko Haram. Can we start with Boko Haram ISIS bombing in Nigeria?
Kasi binomba ni Trump ang Nigeria.
Northern Nigeria.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So, nagsulat ako ng article na ang point ko, the main aim really was meant for Venezuela. To warn Venezuela that it would be subject to land, air, naval attacks. No? And then, sinabi ko na nagpa-plan na siguro na makidnap si Maduro.
Yung abduction.
Okay.
That early?
So, nung natapos ko yung article, di Christmas season yan.
Right.
Naawa naman ako sa mga agents.
Nagse-celebrate ng Christmas.
Oo, kasi yung mga silang mamahalin to get it out as a news.
Tsaka dahil Arneo si Walden,
Ayun.
siya very circumspect. Nirerespeto niya yung celebration.
With their families. Okay. So, pinadala ko lang noon January 2. 8 hours before the attack. So,
ayan tuloy.
nung lumabas, I outscooped myself. So,
naging suspicious ng tao. May intel feed ka ba, Sir Walden? May Havana connection.
Sinabi ko na wala akong assets sa US Intelligence Agency. Just in case.
Hold it para matrack ka ng US Agency sila.
Ang sinabi ko,
para matrack siya.
Ang sinabi ko, yung instincts ko yan. Kasi alam ko, si Trump is very envious of Obama.
Yung kay Osama Bin Laden sa Pakistan.
Yung Osama Bin Laden. Gusto niya
Oh.
tapatan and to supersede it. No?
Correct.
So yun yung instincts ko. Tama pala.
Tama yung instinct po.
Na ito talaga yung...
Pero ingit din siya kay Machado yata.
Ha?
Machado, yung nanalo ng
Machado.
Oo.
Ayaw din niya.
Kasi sa kanya FIFA Peace Prize lang, di ba?
Sabi niya, he's too weak.
No support,
Si Machado.
Machado.
Si Machado.
Menudo.
Ingat tayo, baka mga toxic masculinity.
Hindi, kasama ko si Walden, kaya okay lang.
Hindi, ikaw military historian ka. Kasi people are comparing this to Panama, kay Noriega, but other people are saying actually, the Noriega one actually, andyan na yung US sa protector. Some would say this is the first ever time US actually invaded or bombed South American countries.
Iba naman si Bin Laden
Maduro. So from a military historian, like what the heck happened? 150 aircrafts involved. Like that's a large scale operation. It doesn't look like just a Bin Laden Delta Force something.
Just like Professor Bello dito.
Walden na lang, Professor.
Yeah, kunyari ako sir. Ano to eh?
Ano lang, nagwa-warm up pa lang.
Nag-warm up pa lang ako. Ano to dun sa ano yan? Yan. So I also wrote an article.
Meron ka palang katapat eh. Na-outscoop ka na outscoop.
Oo, na ano to that discussed yung US strategic direction under Trump, no? So parang before this ano to, 'di ba lumabas yung national security, of which he enunciated yung revival of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine, 'di ba? The Monroe Doctrine.
Gunboat diplomacy.
So this is part and parcel of that already. This is a warning to China, wag ka nandito. That's why ito yung timing ng attack, 'di ba?
Yung envoy ng China.
Oh, then binanatan nila, no? So you have that signaling na ginagawa ng US, no? But the thing that is problematic with the US is that it means they're always quick to start wars, but they're horrible in
They're terrible in winning the peace.
Winning the peace, that's the point. They're terrible in winning the peace, no? And in this case kasi, parang ano to eh, makikita mo kaagad, it's a recipe for disaster by virtue of what you mentioned a while ago when Trump said that the US is going to run Venezuela. I mean, that's already a recipe for disaster.
Na iba yung parang mukha ni Rubio, iba yung reaction ng generals, parang wait lang, parang ibang pinagsasabi.
So, and the problem is that he answers to a coterie of billionaires, di ba? That's a problem with the US policy now. It's before kasi medyo predictable sila na may at least susunod sa some sort of procedure, diplomatic nicety. SOP. Ngayon wala na. It's like they've gone rogue already, you know. So alam mo, okay, so on one end si Rubio is trying whatever he's trying to do there. Then on the end you have Donald with his coterie of with his what's the term that we used in Marcos's time? Cronies, di ba? Yung mga his cronies, di ba? Not yes, but his cronies is like the billionaires, the ones who whisper to him, no? You have what is that? Heritage, di ba?
Heritage Foundation.
Yan, yung mga those ideologues who always win. Stephen Miller, and these people have no logic and reason. They are crackpots, no? They are out and out crackpots.
Anti-Trump pero right wing.
Yung bagong ambassador sa Pilipinas ng US, is a gold body, no? Walang karanasan sa diplomacy, no? Gold body, business friend.
And imagine, ang katapat niya ngayon is a Chinese diplomat who is seasoned in the US and
Pero dun sa ito yung complexity ng US politics ngayon kasi hati talaga ang MAGA.
Yeah.
Yung
Tucker Carlson.
Over Epstein.
Yeah.
Wala si JD Vance dun sa ano.
So sabi ni
Wala siya dun.
si Laura Loomis isa sa is that this is not this is something that shouldn't be done because it's really the Mexican cartels that are exporting to the United States. Venezuela has nothing to do with it. Nagchuchua rin si Steve Bannon dyan. Tapos sabi ni Margaret, pangalan niya, Taylor Greene, na this is not... Marjorie Taylor Greene, that this is... we thought we elected somebody who would end all the wars, no more forever wars. Boy, we were wrong. So, may rebellion niya ngayon. Tsaka sinabi mo si J.D. Vance was not there, So, it's that's significant.
Ikaw anong basa mo doon kay yung boyfriend ni Marjorie Taylor Greene, naalala mo yung nagano sa WD?
Yung journalist.
Yung journalist, yeah.
Boyfriend niya.
Pero teka, hindi makita si Lourd eh. Dito ka. Lourd lang, dito ka.
Ganyan, di ba, vlog?
Newsmax.
Nagsulat din ako tungkol dito eh. Kaso pinadala ko kay Lord de Veyra. Tinapon sa basurahan.
Oo naman. Ano ba to? Frame 1979 standards?
Pinadala mo rin siya ng article tungkol dito, predicting yung attack. Kaso tinapon niya sa basurahan.
Kasi parasitarian dapat yung level ng ng mga...
Palangkawar din natin.
Actually, by paper pa ba kayo? Pinadala mo by paper?
Saan?
White paper.
Pink paper. Okay. Pink paper. Hindi white paper.
Ikaw, ano basa mo dyan? Sa boyfriend ni Marjorie? Hindi, tsaka yung fact na nag-trending na yung damit ni, yung Nike, Just Do It, yung damit ni, Maduro, yung naka-Nike jumper.
Hindi, no?
Naging fashion state. Nakita mo yan? Naging Nike commercial na siya.
Pero, pag tinanong nyo ba yung mga ordinary Venezuelans, masisiyahan ba sila? Tutanong kay Walden. Kasi
Let's ask Walden.
for the longest time, di ba? Parang,
Mix. Sa mix.
ano bang...
Hati yan.
Hati yan.
Very, sa tingin ko, very polarized yan ngayon.
Right.
At ang tingin ko riyan, the worst thing about it is that I think this is going to really create an active civil war.
Yeah.
And tama
Libyan style.
Tama, you're right na
Si JC.
yeah, JC na talagang mahihirapan ng US diyan. And Trump is crazy to say we're gonna run it
this, yeah.
kasi they cannot run that country.
Wait, so you don't buy yung theory na they cut the deal with the rest of the Chavista regime? Because everyone is still there. The interior minister, the VP.
Sino yung kabilang force?
Wala kasing boots on the ground eh.
Wala siyang gusto. So basically, lang yung decapitation, pero you keep the regime, parang gano'n.
I doubt it.
You doubt it?
Yeah.
You don't think Rodriguez cut the deal or something like that? So conspiracy
Maybe some of
Adam
them
Cruz was
did.
sharing that, your friend.
Maybe
Adam Cruz.
some.
Pragmatic elements.
Yeah, but I doubt very much if they'll last very long.
Pero si Machado is not a unifying figure there. He cannot unify Venezuela.
Trump agrees
Bakit,
with you.
bakit?
That's what Trump said last night.
Because he's a neoliberal, weak leader.
Yeah.
No? Tapos kahit papano, kahit ganun si Maduro, malalim pa rin yung support para doon sa
Yeah.
kanyang icon.
Yung
Si,
siya,
Walden.
si Hugo Chavez. Na kaibigan ni Walden.
Ang Bolivar
El
movement
Professor.
ba ay...
Mentor.
Ano ba siya? Kamusta yung Bolivar movement niya? Buhay pa
Oo
rin
nga.
ba siya?
Did Maduro destroy the legacy? Because some people will argue that
Kwento
Maduro
mo si Juan, si Hugo.
ruined the legacy of Hugo Chavez.
Well, hati talaga yun.
Hati
Kasi
rin
there
yun.
were certain sectors na na-alienate by Maduro and other sectors that basically said he was the heir of Chavez.
At kausap
But-
na yung ibon. Na
Yeah, oo.
kaluluwa daw ni Chavez.
So anyway, but I would say na what's going to bring that Chavista movement back together is precisely what Trump has done.
Give them a rallying around the
Oh,
flag
of course.
effect. Yeah.
Of course.
But who will be the leader?
Rodriguez, because her dad was a revolutionary
Who will be the
leader.
Bolivarian
The
That-
leader?
interior minister, the current interior minister, who do you
I'm not
think?
sure.
Ah.
I have not followed
So,
it that
vacuum na yan.
closely.
Ano yan eh, the problem is, di ba, ideally, it could have followed yung nangyari sa atin in EDSA 1, no? Na pag-oust kay Marcos,
meron naka-ready na.
tayo naka-ready, and then that person was not really, the government could chart its own path, kahit
Correct.
paano. But in this case kasi, the actual removal of the dictator was of Maduro, or whatever we call him, was by an external force.
Yeah.
No local,
Yeah.
no?
So sa foreign invasion.
So that being said, now whatever government is set up there is now answerable to DC. Magiging tuta ni DC yan.
And for
now,
the Venezuelan people, he will be a puppet.
Oo.
Tama.
And the problem there kasi now is, okay, in the normal circumstances, that would be bad enough already. But now you're dealing with the Trump administration, which has proven to be so corrupt. No, so imagine you're a puppet of a very corrupt administration. What's going to happen now to that Venezuelan puppet government? It's going to follow the dictates now of the business clique that is lording it over Trump, no? Yan ang susundin. That's why, and if you would see, Trump is not hiding it naman. He's saying, the oil, everything is going to be run by us. He's going to say, but who is us? Is it the U.S. government or is it this coterie of what do you call it? Cronies, no?
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah. No, good. Ang i-add ko lang as a footnote
Yeah.
is mas swabe yung operations ng US nung EDSA. Kasi talagang behind the scenes sila. Very good. Very,
tactical intelligence.
not to say very good, very smart ang moves nila.
Seamless. Completely seamless.
Yeah. Although you knew they were behind the scenes.
No,
No?
they were ones who
Pero
actually-
ito, Trump, nandun sa forefront.
Kasi he likes the show. He
Yung
likes
nga
the
eh.
fireworks.
Yung nga.
Literally.
The major difference between
Yeah.
Venezuela and the Philippines was that in Venezuela, Maduro was the one which was spirited out by the US. In the Philippines, Marcos was the one who was spirited out. No,
Kaya
so
Marcos and
they rescued the.
Hindi, tsaka mahina yung kanilang attempt to demonize Maduro. Kumpara halimbawa sa ginawa nila kay
Marcos.
hindi, sa Iraq.
Saddam.
Saddam, talagang weapons of mass destruction.
The fact that
Nag-invade sa
Ito,
Kuwait, nag-invade sa Iran.
may attempt idikit sa drugs, di ba? May
Pero
attempt
it
idikit
was
sa
falling
kung
flat
ano.
because the Honduran ex-president ba?
Na-pardon bigla. Tsaka yung Ecuadorian.
Ecuadorian. Ito the Ecuadorian. Yan.
We will get into
Kasi
the
talagang-
Marcos discussion soon.
Magulo ang foreign policy ni Trump. He is the epitome of unpredictability.
But,
Nung nilusob nila ang Libya, grabe yung demonization nun.
kay Gaddafi. I don't think you need to demonize Gaddafi. He was like a walking
Pero
meme.
afterwards, ano nangyari? It practically became a failed state.
Yeah.
Dahil only a strong leader, without supporting Gaddafi, can govern various tribes who are fighting each other.
Well, I mean, Libya is not
tribal.
But Libya is not an organic state. Hindi siya katulad ng Iran,
Hindi,
or Turkey, or Egypt.
kasalanan ng UK yan eh. Lahat naman ng problema sa Middle
Yung
East.
Italians din, marami.
Italians,
Italians.
Actually Europeans.
Italians
Europeans.
actually dami.
Because they subdivided Africa eh. Diba?
No, but I want to go to this. I mean, Walden, what is your take on this? Because the Rubio version is, no, we liberated them from Cuban colonization. And some with the conspiracy theories that nilaglag siya ng ibang Chavismo because they felt he's too dependent on the Cuban people, the intelligence folks and all of that. So basically, they wanted to bring it back to Venezuelan control. Parang siyang yung pinatay si Alexander the Great dahil malapit siya sa Persians, tapos inano siya ng mga
Baka it's the other way
Parang may ganun daw.
Baka it's the other way around. Mas dependent ang Cuba sa
naman sa oil.
Yeah, the Cuban economy is very dependent on the Venezuela.
The seamlessness of how the operations
Yun nga, it's too
were
seamless
done
din eh.
showed na talagang
There's inside job.
it was a practical
100%,
inside job.
yeah.
He had loads upon loads of human there, no? So and that's a lesson for us.
Na hindi Cuban, for sure, kasi the Cubans have an interest in
And
Maduro.
I think that's a lesson for the Philippines in terms of how
Infiltration.
how a factionalized state can easily be co-opted, no, by or overwhelmed, no, by a very superior one.
Bago lahat, cheers kay Pete Hegseth.
Well, I mean,
Kasi yung sa kanya, we can reach you wherever.
Well, the Chinese assets are no longer hiding. No, they're no longer Manchurian candidates here. They're proudly manifesting their betrayal.
But
Diba?
and
si ano? Gusto mo mag-uminom muna? Para
Imagine a pro-China
nasabi ka pa.
national security advisor,
And-
openly pro-China, pro-Russia.
in addition to what Ronald is saying, you know,
they said where? I didn't say who.
and in addition,
Nadulas.
to be fair,
To be
okay,
fair, okay, let's be fair. Okay.
you know, lantad yung mga Chinese assets. Pero lantad din yung mga American assets. I mean, the president himself is an American asset.
Akala ko si Richard.
Oh, no.
Maging asset ba si Marcos? Is he an asset or a liability?
He's an ass.
He's more a liability.
No, that's what I
some
mean.
say, yeah.
I mean, asset, whatever.
Liability.
You know.
No, okay, so
We can mention names,
no, I mean,
right,
for me, like, okay, what's the game plan here? Kasi para siyang performative regime change. Tinanggal mo lang si Maduro, andun yung regime. And
Hindi
then,
na nila bibitawan ng Venezuela.
yeah, but so what's gonna be the next phase? Civil war,
It's up to the-
factionalized,
It's up
like,
to the
more...
Venezuelans, no? Well, kasi yan, it's up to the Venezuelans, no, how they will react to whatever governance mismanagement is going. Because the government mismanagement is almost a done thing already. It's almost sure going to happen. There will be mismanagement in the governance service if you have that type of relationship. So, ngayon kasi, what you had was a conventional attack, right?
Yeah.
And just like Iraq, no, when the Iraqi war happened, na nag-collapse ka agad, no?
Yeah.
But the problem is the occupation of Iraq cost more in terms of lives than the actual invasion itself, you know. So the same thing can happen in Venezuela. Now that there will be an insurgency can actually happen there, no?
Naka-ready yung militia, di ba? The Chavista
Pero malalim
militia.
kasi ang
No, but it might not be them. It may be another group that will rise from there.
Malalim ang Bolivarian spirit sa Venezuela. Kahit yung mga galit kay Maduro, papayag ba sila
Na US
na isang
sila.
foreign invader, no, na papatakbuhin yung bansa nila? I doubt that.
Or their puppet, or their stooges, di ba?
At saka, and remember, hindi lang Venezuela yan. Yung,
Now, let's talk about it. Yeah,
yung
the implication for the Latin America.
Movimiento de los Sin Tierras, MST. Naglabas na sila ng statement, even before this happened,
Right.
that they will send volunteers
Oh, wow.
to Venezuela
To fight
if there is
invasion.
an invasion.
Boots on the ground.
So parang
Yeah.
like Syria style na sumali ang Hezbollah, sumali ang ano, like, you know.
And let us not forget the opportunity it affords to China also.
To bog down US in Latin America.
Yeah, bog them down
Yeah,
there.
or Russians even.
Yeah,
for that
because
matter, yeah.
that's the thing. And then use this. Okay, you may have your Monroe Doctrine over there. We're fine and dandy with it. But make Southeast Asia, East Asia our
Yeah,
lake.
yeah, yeah.
Ganon. So there will be
Spheres of influence.
And Trump is
Spheres
very
of influence.
transactional. It's very transactional. And we already see that in Europe when
Ukraine.
he's practically giving, parang in Europe, he's practically giving the Russians a sphere of influence there already. That it's spelled out in the NSA, the National Security Strategy.
Yeah, tama yun. No? Na, I think talagang in sphere of influence.
Falangis at Maoista. This is a good conversation.
Sphere of influence talaga ngayon ng US. Kasi even si Takachi, nung nagsabi siya that we will intervene if there's a Chinese blockade
Sa Taiwan.
of Taiwan,
Yeah.
ano nangyari? Si Trump threw her under the bus. Hindi, she begged for Trump to make a statement to support her. Kasi ang lakas ng reactions ng China.
China, yeah.
Anong sabi ni Trump sa kanya? Bring down the rhetoric. Okay. So basically, ang tingin ko riyan is tama na
Sarili
nakakonsolidate
spheres of
yung
influence,
sphere of influence ngayon dito. So there are some people who are saying is that in return for Venezuela,
Ukraine,
there
Taiwan.
goes Taiwan. I don't know. You know, all I know is that talagang kanyang.
Ikaw,
Pero kahit walang
Anong
quid pro,
chismis?
kahit walang quid pro quo yun, it will give the Chinese the needed
Pretext.
argument
Pretext.
to invade Taiwan. Ginawa nyo nga sa Venezuela Sasabihin ng mga Russians, bakit kayo nang balat sa invasion
abduct
namin ng
nila si
Ukraine?
Zelensky.
Ginawa nyo rin ito sa Venezuela. So, it gives them a compelling argument to justify their invasion.
For me, it's like Taiwan will be a tough nut to crack.
It's not Maduro regime.
It's not. It's united. It's capable.
But not
And-
in 20 years, not if Kuomintang
Yes,
comes back.
and an amphibious operation is the most difficult type of military operation ever. But there's an easy target. And we're living
Philippines.
in it. Exactly.
Philippines.
So we are the low-hanging. Kasi Venezuela was a low-hanging fruit of the US.
Pakisabi yan sa MAGA Pinoy kasi lumalaki yung MAGA Pinoy community.
Tsaka
Proud na proud sila. Anything Trump
JC,
does.
JC.
Do you understand what's the
JC,
implication?
what will China do with 120 million Filipinos?
Huh?
Yun lang. Can they
Get them in because there's a shortage of babies in China.
win the peace? How can China win the peace if they do that?
No, it's just a matter
The helicopter into Malacanang.
It's just a matter of co-opting. It's kaya decisive sa atin. It's the next elections, di ba?
Yeah.
Diyan papasok lahat na naman yan. So the Chinese can just pay back kasi, di ba? It was just like a slight on them, or at the very least, a slight, at the most, it was a practical insult what happened in Venezuela. No? So just to get back, they might score another diplomatic victory here in the Philippines. And the Philippines being the country that it is, you just really don't know what's going to happen, especially if BBM doesn't, if he provides the window of opportunity for the Dutertes to come back to power. No?
Actually, ang weak underbelly natin, based sa framework na yan, is the business sector. A lot of our
Kasi tied down
businessmen,
sila sa-
a lot of our Taipans are very pro-China, whether they admit it or not. Ang mas kumpa dyan, mas galit pa, the population.
Yeah.
More than 95% are very critical of China. No? So, mas yun ang problema nila.
But it's never an election issue eh.
Hindi, it's not about election.
Hindi naging election issue this year.
It's about
Last year pa.
winning the peace.
Yeah.
Ibig sabihin, Filipinos, for lack of a better alternative, like in World War II, will be fighting. No? Yun ang sinasabi ko, no?
It
Oh,
depends
yeah,
on the
yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
It depends because of how they will,
Gusto ko eh.
how they will,
Pero
Even bordering on racism.
because
So unfortunately,
pero the thing is, yung Filipinos as a yung character natin as a people, hindi tayo bloody kagaya ng mga Kanor bloody people. I mean, I lived there for a number of years and I could see that these people were bloody. I mean, even to themselves. Like remember in the pandemic, they couldn't care less if tens of thousands were dying of COVID, as long as they could push back against the COVID regulation. Million. They couldn't care less. And these are the and right now, tingnan mo, look at the delight that some of them have when they see the deportations, the arrests going on, and the sadism that is. They're happy, no? So it's something that, but in the Philippines, maybe it's because of there's a very strong element of racism in the U.S. No, that's why they're like that. No? But in the case of the Philippines, we're a bit more amenable, or a bit more. What's the term for it? Yung medyo
diffident,
mabait tayo. Hospitable. No? Which makes it easy kasi ang gagawin lang, i-co-opt mo lang yung ruling elite eh.
Right.
And that's been done ever since, in time immemorial. Co-opt ka lagi ng mga
Pero
ruling
it's
elite.
not that easy because the military are...
Which military? Ours?
Our
Ours?
military. Our military.
Ours?
Yeah,
The one that just gave a lieutenant colonelship to a certain senator? Despite a pro-Chinese statement.
But most of them, kung magsasurvey ka sa ating military, are very anti-China.
Ganito yan. I will just give
But
you...
let me just intervene here.
Okay.
Ang sa tingin ko is that I think the idea of a Chinese invasion of the Philippines is out of the question.
At least for the foreseeable
Yeah.
future.
I think
They're
what
smart.
they would, ang interest talaga nila for, purposes of whatever, expanding their defense perimeter, etc., is really control of the South China Sea.
Yeah.
That's there.
Which
They'll
you
be-
named as West Philippine Sea when you're in Congress. You passed the resolution.
Kasalanan
It was
niya.
working for you. Yeah.
Kasalanan niya.
Kasalanan. Siya yung passed the resolution 2011.
At that time, I was in the NSC office. Yun naman naglalaban namin yung
West
He
Philippine
filed the
Sea.
resolution.
kasalanan natin lahat pala.
Yeah.
We never
Anyway.
thought it would be approved.
No, well,
We have to give credit to Walden.
Anyway, the administration immediately told me it doesn't have to go through plenary because we're going to use that name, West
Right.
Philippine Sea. Okay. But having said that, ang tingin ko is that they'd be satisfied with a friendly regime over here, no, in the Philippines.
Hindi direct control.
And sa tingin ko is that because if you look at it, pagdating sa Southeast Asia, kwan na yan Southeast Asia, it's only Vietnam and the Philippines that are
Critical.
pumapalag.
Even Vietnam, medyo naglalaro na rin
kasi
dahil grabe economic dependence.
right. But ang sense ko is that ang mangyayari dito is that I don't think they'll even, kasi the Taiwan, yung aim naman talaga ng Chinese government dyan is that economic absorption through cross-straits integration. That was
plan A.
Yeah, that was
plan
Which significantly, meron na sila.
Yeah, but they're not.
But Taiwan is decoupling.
But I think for diplomatic reasons, they're not going to send paratroopers to take over
For now,
Taiwan.
yeah.
No? Ang sense ko, talagang gusto nila mangyari, number one priority, isolate Japan.
Kasi yun yung pinakamalakas.
Yun ang pinakamalakas.
Yeah, that can really
Second to the US.
Yeah, they can
That's why they're establishing diplomatic relations
with Korea, South Korea, right? They're leftist kasi yung government.
Agitating Korea against Japan.
Yeah.
Na malalim yung galit.
Which is age-old.
Yeah.
Mga 1,000 years old.
Si Trump is going, in April, he is going to meet with Kim Jong-un. Remember,
Who's the safest man in the world now thanks to
2019,
and nuclear.
2019, nandito sila sa demilitarized zone.
Guwapo siya ngayon. No?
Sabi ni Trump kay Kim Jong-un, do you want me to step over the line? Sabi ni Kim Jong-un, of course! So he stepped over the line. So ever since then, they've been at the personal level.
May
friends,
rapport.
you know. So,
Rich kids
The
sila
whole-
ba? Nepo-kids sila ba? Nepo-kids pa rin.
They're both crazy.
They're both nepo-kids.
so this act of Trump has further scrambled, tama sila, the politics
Yeah,
in
it's a
Southeast Asia and in Northeast
It's a
Asia.
mess. It's a mess.
You know.
Pero may pressure din kasi kay Xi Jinping to at least in the near future, to integrate Taiwan
But-
from the PLA.
Balik ako sa
Yeah.
military.
From the PLA, from the
Yeah.
PLA.
Yeah.
May ganun pressure.
So let's just going back to that military, yung comment about the Philippine military. I'll give you personal.
Ayan na. Hugot time.
Okay, anyway, it must be the 196 talking already.
Just to be clear,
But anyway,
his views do not represent
these views do not represent 196.
and ano to? Blowfish. Yeah, blowfish.
During the time of Pinoy kasi, di ba, we had a very strong that's why, di ba, yung WPS carried through. And the military was very involved in it, no? And I was there in the National Security Advisor's office. Nakikita ko, there were generals coming in, talking to us, blah, 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 and coordinating. There were a lot of people activities, etc., for the people, no? Like education and so on and so forth. And I remember several generals who were coordinating with me at that time, no? Or I was coordinating with them also. Long story short, bumupo si Duterte, ang daming tumahimik.
Yeah.
No, tumahimik sila regardless of
At
what
dami na promote bigla.
and became very cautious, no? Very cautious, ayaw nila ma-jeopardize in careers. But the worst was, one of those who was coordinating with me started towing the China line. So parang,
kilala ko yan.
it's not a guarantee na eh, no? Parang the military will resist, no? Ang tendency dito, they will just coast along, no? May ilan na matapang, no? May yung isa dyan, itago natin sa acronym ML. Di ba? Yan. Lagi
So what you're saying na soften yung ground? Yung
Pero may
soften-
personal experience din ako eh.
Oo.
Especially nitong nakaraang mga buwan.
Oo.
Nung na-threaten si
Marcos.
for a withdrawal of support, no?
Ah, yeah,
Na-threaten
oo.
siya nung kwan. Isang dahilan.
Wala kasi.
One thing which
eh.
saved Marcos
Oo.
Is the
was
military.
the vice president. No? Hindi pumayag yung military
Kasi
ng isang
pro-China.
installation ni Sara who is clearly pro-China.
But because
Yeah,
BBM
yun
is
yung
the
pan.
president.
Yes, pero
Pero pag si Duterte ang president,
Ang point niya is that if na-cross na yung line, will they push back?
no, they won't. They
Yeah.
most
Iba-
likely
iba-
they
It's
won't.
different. You're saying they don't want that line to be crossed.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
if it's crossed na? Then you're...
Kaya-
Actually, pwede mag-coexist
Yeah,
yung arguments
exactly,
niya. Yeah,
exactly.
You're not actually contradicting
No,
each other.
we're not.
Walden, how do you read this? I want to go back slightly to Latin America before I come to Philippines kasi actually ibang pang-away namin. with
Okay,
Walden.
sige.
Third force na.
Nag-away ka rin ba, Walden?
No.
Every day. No, I'm just kidding. No, but Walden, like Pedro Gustavo, very strong statement, nagpadala ng troops sa borders. President Trump insinuated Pedro Gustavo is also kinda in that list, narco list, ganon. The Mexican president was also criticized for not doing enough about cartels, and Trump suggesting maybe he'll do special ops inside the Mexico. I mean, like, are we looking at something even wider here? Potentially Colombia, Mexico, because Brazil, Lula responded very aggressively against this, just as aggressively as Milei supported this.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that we're just beginning to see the rolling impact of this event, no? Which to some extent was even MAGA is split on that. But I would say that this has the ingredients of really unifying large numbers of people in Latin America, because nothing unifies people more in Latin America
Than
gringos coming in. No? So,
Heavy-handed.
ang sense ko rito is that Trump, muhusay kasi si Trump sa mga threats and that sort of thing. Pero maski siya, he won't send troops in the ground kasi another Vietnam, no? So, ang sense ko lang rito is that this could be the third phase of the death rattle of the empire. The first one was Vietnam, no?
Then
The
Iraq.
second one was Iraq. They came in. And this is the third one. They get bogged down here,
In Latin America.
and the U.S. is really in really big trouble at this point in time. So, my sense is, hindi magpapadala ng boots on the ground yan. Okay? And they haven't thought through
The next steps.
the next steps.
Yeah.
I think they'll be satisfied with just getting Maduro.
And then make a kind of O.J. Simpson style famous court case.
Yeah,
mga
yeah,
ganyan,
yeah.
parang
Mga ganun.
ganun, like a celebrity court show.
When pressure, whatever.
But in the meantime, you've inflamed the continent. No?
Yun lang. Oo.
So, sense ko lang rito is that this is a strategic loss for the U.S., although maybe it's a tactical
Tactically,
gain,
very smooth.
just for the
Yeah.
this.
I mean,
this
honestly,
thing.
tactically speaking, that wasn't too bad. I mean, some would say that was very smooth operator.
Yeah, but you're dealing,
Considering the intelligence and all of that.
you're
of course.
dealing also with the Venezuelan military, which is not really known for its for any legendary.
Didn't they
feats
have
on the
like 12
battlefield.
S-300 systems and all of that,
Yeah.
like na shutdown lahat?
And they were sparing again. Another lesson for the AFP.
Yeah.
No? That because the Philippine military has a tendency to buy in driblets. And you can see that what was given to Maduro was just driblets of equipment, easily overwhelmed. Okay, so that's why they didn't really perform properly. But if you saturated it with defenses, so it's another matter. Like
Parang Pakistan.
Like drones.
yeah, like for example, when there's a comparison now that you have the US, there's just memes going out where the US is telling the VDV Russian forces that, oh, this is how you do a special operation.
Unlike in Ukraine.
Yeah, but the point is, what were the Americans were up against a military force, Venezuela,
That's true.
which had no will to fight, none to fight. But imagine, you had helicopters flying over. Where were the manpads? There should have been manpads. If that was Ukraine,
Exactly.
the Ukrainians would manpad all of those helicopters already.
But
Iratin mo
But another elephant in the room is political. Brazil, Mexico, Chile, etc. Already made positions attacking the US. At tingin ko, hindi lang yan momentary decisions because of
While not supporting Maduro. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
Because
without-
both
without-
Boric
without-
and
without
Lula are
without
not
supporting
recognizing
Maduro,
Maduro.
no?
Exactly, yeah.
or Machado, no?
Nor Machado.
Basta ko lang nila. Then may history sila ng
Precedents.
ng US intervention. Kaya itrunkle sa kanila. Ito mas very direct eh.
Yeah.
Ito very direct.
Your European friends are panicking. The Danish are making statements on green lines.
The Chileans and Argentinians, have they issued statements?
Yeah, Boric
Yes,
had statement.
yes, yes.
Basically, we don't recognize, but we don't want also military intervention. Neither nor. Very
Most of the
specific.
Latin American countries, except Argentina.
Except Milei.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, wala kang alam dyan, ha? Ganun ang Trinidad.
Pero yung,
I think at that moment, the Milei was
Ecuador,
singing
Ecuador
some rock
support.
song.
pero yung
Power.
president-elect ng Chile is probably approaching.
Yeah. Milei, yung bago na darating.
It's incoming.
Oh, but the
Far right yun.
But
Si Boris.
most of the political parties in
Yeah.
Chile.
But this would help the left Not only like Latin, but the left Kasi the left was on the back foot
Yeah.
Malakas ulit ang right wing
Actually, you're
kabawasan yan doon sa president ng Chile.
Yeah.
No, dahil nga, delicate yung kanyang yung kanyang majority.
This is a very interesting, tricky
Yeah,
situation.
talagang strategic blunder.
But tactical
And I
success.
think maybe Trump is saying to himself right now, what did I start? So, magkakagulo, hindi lang sa Latin America, kundi sa base niya, yung MAGA base.
Which was already there a few months ago. With
Well,
the
yeah, they were,
operations in Iran,
all of these
But
things were
going
going
back
on.
to this, I mean, but that's why I feel yung Maduro in the court, yung gagawin nila trial of the century yan. They're gonna choose that, right?
Pero if they're not capable,
Pwede bumaliktad.
that's martyrdom, no? Baka yung mga
Madama rin si Maduro, di ba? Magaling
baka
din.
yung mga sins ni Maduro matakpan.
Pero
At
saan
magiging
gagawin yung
siya,
trial?
icon ng Latin
Yun nga
America.
di ba si Ma'am Dani made a statement like we don't want to do anything about this. Baka ma-Florida daw siya.
As long kasi kasi if you look at people like Trump, as long as he provides the masses with entertainment.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's
Yeah.
it's simulacra. It's a
Yeah.
geopolitical
But yes, but
simulacra.
even his own base.
Yeah.
Ay hati.
Ate.
You
I think
know?
already,
Even
J.D.
yung-
Vance was not there in the press
Yeah,
conference,
yeah.
right? I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I saw his
Yeah.
tweet, but the Tucker Carlson types,
Yeah.
those people are not on board with
Yeah.
these kinds of. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, we mentioned that.
Yeah.
So Walden, now let's transition to the Philippines. Yung sarili natin muna. No, let's talk about this, Walden. So as we speak right now, there is a debate among progressive leftists, basta non-DDS, non-Marcos. What on earth are we gonna do now? Massive corruption scandals. There's a shadow of US-China competition in West Philippine Sea. And then at the same time, there's also this idea of who's the greater evil? Sasali ba tayo? Mag-unity tayo? Counter-unity ba tayo? What in your position is that the progressive liberals are making a mistake now by not going all out against Marcos? I mean, what is your read of this situation before I go to you?
Well,
Is there even a third force? Kasi parang baka naman wala pang third force. It's too weak to be a
but
third
I
force.
was,
Ilan lang sila?
yung background kasi is that ever since the May elections, I had been saying that the results of the elections has the potential of creating a third force. neither Marcos nor Duterte. And I thought, you know, weeks after that was still a possibility, particularly with the leadership of Risa Hontiveros. And I think people know that I've always been partial in my support for Risa. No?
You too.
But,
right?
but the problem is that let me just say that those people that I had been indicating were potentially part of the third force began to, in fact, convert themselves into de facto an ally of the Marcos administration. And
why would you say that? Because they didn't support like a coup or a RevGov or something like that?
No, I mean, I think this was, you know, a sense that the important thing for them was really to make sure, you know, that Sara ang mga Duterte. No? Now, this was before the infrastructure scandals. No? So then, boom, sumabog itong infrastructure scandals, the flood control and this sort of thing. And the issue of Sara has been marginalized in the public consciousness. Now,
you mean the impeachment corruption?
Yeah, right. Now, what you have is a sense, you know, that the main, among the people, I'm just talking about people, is that the main problem really is the corruption scandal, and then the revelations of Saldico that the president is on top of this whole thing. So, my sense is that people would not understand why you would ally with the brains of the scandal, the flood control scandal, no? When the logical political choice is in fact to go against that force, no?
Even if this means potentially return of the Dutertes, you don't care, like that's...
No, I'm talking about the popular consciousness, no? People would not understand why, to use the language of some people, that you're not, you know, going to seek, you know, getting this guy out of power and say, hindi pa, you know, because
hostage kayo dun sa possibility of Sara coming back.
Right. And people don't understand that hostage thing, except the supporters, the Pinklawan groupings, which is about, what, 11 to 15% of the population.
So you're losing the 40%, that's what you're saying.
But Walden, in all surveys, the people are against the installation of a military junta.
Oh, yeah.
Ibig sabihin, it's not about
preserving Marcos.
Preserving Marcos.
Yeah, it's about preserving the constitutional order.
Yes, because most people are very critical of Marcos. Kaya nga ang baba na kanyang approval ratings. Pero hinihiwalay nila yan dun sa pro-military junta or sa installation ni Sara.
Or
as the successor.
Or a revolutionary government.
Yes,
This is the third option.
Dahil yung mga nagko-call para sa resign all, sinasabi, si Marcos mag-resign pero hindi si Sara. Sabi nila, then let us pressure Sara to resign. The only one who can pressure Sara to resign is a unified military. No? Dahil nga, hindi naman ganun kalakas ng progressive movement to force Sara to resign. You need yung power ng coercive arm of the state. Diba? Which means, the danger of a junta will be greater. Dahil pag natulak ng military for Sara to resign as well, ba't pa nila ibibigay yung power sa isang weak civil society, no? Or a weak progressive movement
not consolidated,
na malakas pa rin yung red tagging ng military. So, ang sinasabi ko lang, in the scheme of things, the best option is 2028. No? Defeat both dynasties. No? Use and harness the anti-corruption movement, no? To defeat both dynasties.
Before I go to military, so I'll push you both on this. So in the meantime, what do you do with the corruption scandal? Because as Walden correctly said, this is the biggest scandal.
Well, use that to create the third force. No, use that.
How exactly?
I-harness mo. Ano ba?
But the problem is that, okay, if you deal with Marcos, you lose.
So what is
You
what do
lose
mean?
credibility.
What do you mean?
You lose credibility, which means that you have to, aside from the question of if there's going to be a transition council, and we can discuss that. The question is, how do you create this third force that will appeal to people and not be seen as in bed with the Marcos government?
Don't
no?
deal with Marcos, no? But ang sinasabi nga ng Catholic Church, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Don't go for a military junta.
This is
Yun lang naman yung kanila.
Yeah. But
Dahil
nobody's saying
ba-
naman, Richard, Ronald, no one's saying go for a military
Meron.
junta.
Yeah, meron.
No.
And some of them are part of the progressive
Yeah, I know. But there are so many different people right now who have basically said, let's look for a transition council. Now, some of them might have different ideas, but nevertheless, that is a possibility if you give it a chance.
Pero Walden, a transition council, it's extra-constitutional. A transition council presumes na naparesign mo yung dalawa. At least yung dalawa.
Yeah, of course.
At para maparesign yung dalawa, you need
Yeah.
the coercive arm of the state.
Yeah.
Because the Dutertes will not give up power too once they get it back.
Ang usapan nga dyan, pwede ba kayong sabay mag-resign in the same second? Ano pag nawala yung presidente? Tapos sabihin ni Sara, di ako mag-resign. So siya yung successor.
So how do you force the Dutertes to give up? I don't think they'll give it up.
Well, how do you force the Marcos to give up?
Mas
No,
easier
wait
yun.
it out.
The
They
thing
laid up
is-
in a year. It's
Yeah,
already laid
no,
up.
but the thing is that if you raise the slogan to that, you create the mass mobilizations for that to become a reality that they both resign, so that you don't just depend on the military to do that. No?
Not necessarily. Alam mo,
Yeah.
kung mamumuno niyan are the usual suspects sa kaliwa.
Well,
Nobody will
yeah.
join them. No?
Yeah, but I think the left, of course, let's face it that way, no?
Yeah.
But the left is becoming more mature than that, I think.
I'm not too sure. Sino Walden?
Well, but the point is that my point is, that okay, we can agree. Dapat ihiwala yung third force, si Larissa, whom I support thoroughly, from the Marcoses, and that can be done, as you say, and at the same time create, the conditions so that you have an interim kind of solution leading to 2028. No? So
There we
let's,
agree, okay.
and
Gramsci na, war of position, war of maneuver.
the problem also is that we really must bring out people, not only political people, but people in civil society, to exert pressure to move along these lines of creating a third force. And you cannot do that with a Catholic Church leadership.
Yeah, definitely.
That has to come from
the
the
organic
different-
civil society, grassroots.
Yun yung
Yes.
debate namin
Yeah.
ni Richard
Yeah.
kagabi. Dahil the church is providing moral leadership. You still have a political
Yeah.
vacuum.
Yeah.
And this political vacuum cannot be sustained for a long time. Others will fill that up.
Yes, fully.
At those who will fill that up may not be acceptable to our political project.
Yeah.
You want to come in?
So this is the chance whereby Gen Z people can come in and, yung generational
Yes.
blockade of leadership can be broken.
But they need
No?
a leader. Like a lot of Gen Zs are still also voted for the Duterte.
Well, hindi
In the
monolithic.
midterm,
Hindi
Sure,
monolithic.
Ibig sabihin, wala pang youth vote.
Yeah.
Wala pang youth vote.
It's
Still
not
divided.
monolithic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very,
Ang
very
nagpanalo sa
guarded.
akbayan as number one ay mga Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah.
No? But that's
7 million vote? Like how?
that's 2.8 million
Oh,
votes.
2.8
no?
million.
Yan.
Yeah.
So marami pa rin talaga na nandun. So
Yeah.
ang hinahanap nila is a leader
Yeah.
who is neither this and neither that.
Good.
Yun yung kulang pa at this point.
Pero
Yeah.
yun nga, how do you do neither this nor that while making sure the whole thing doesn't
Although
fall
there's a
apart in the meantime
potential.
and get hijacked?
Although some people have the potential to do that, like Risa Ontiveros, for instance.
She threw her name out
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
there's a pushback from liberals. I mean, you could see that.
Well,
Right? I mean,
Hindi, tsaka medyo may criticism si Walden sa mga endorsers ni Lisa.
ayun. Habang naka-Ray-Ban shades ka, I like the Ray-Ban shades version of Walden even more. Ikaw, like, okay, real talk.
Kasi
ba?
JC.
What would happen if, let's say, BBM na-erupt siya, pinaalis siya, nag-withdrawal support, or na-coup siya, or whatever. Like, what are we looking at? If Marcos is no longer the president.
Before I say that, I would like to think naman that BBM and whoever is behind him have learned from EDSA too.
Just like the Dutertes also
Learned from
EDSA
EDSA DOS or EDSA 1. No? And I think also naman that BBM is taking to heart what happened to Laila de Lima.
Right.
No, you don't. Si Laila de Lima, she ended up in jail for 7 years, no, just for crossing Duterte, right? BBM threw him in the head.
Yeah, for good most likely.
So for good na yan.
Yeah.
So he knows what's waiting for him,
Yeah.
you know. And if you have that situation, that
Hindi
guy
rin-
is not going to give
Yeah,
up
he's
power.
not also gonna give up
He's not going to
power.
give up power.
So they have to
anytime
be
soon.
taken out. That's really the only way.
No, the thing
Yeah.
is that, and realistically speaking, there's a very big chance he's going to finish his term, okay? And he's going to fend up because the overarching thing is what is he going to do about a little problem called Duterte, di ba? How does he stop his family?
Ma-exile sila ulit.
How
Second
does he
exile.
exile? What if he gets they get eliminated, di ba? Is what you hear the language that is being said from the other side regarding them,
I mean,
you know?
the vice president.
Yeah, exactly.
My list, yeah.
Yeah, di ba? So parang you have all those lessons. Why relinquish power? So if people start you will counteract that. You know, you will not allow it to develop into a situation that will mothball, that will end up you getting out of power, and then now you are the tender mercies of the Dutertes, no? Who can actually recapture. in
So, what
2028.
if, Walden, the situation here is a reverse hostage situation, but because Marcos fears the return of Dutertes, he could be open to give concessions to the pinks and progressives in his final years before 2028? Because that's another scenario whereby Marcos is saying, oh, thanks to you guys, I'm still surviving.
but what are you talking about? You know, you have a regime.
Not support for RevGov or
Yeah,
transitional
no, but what I
government.
mean is what concessions in the sense that
As an anti-dynasty bill,
every day the numbers of the administration is going down, no?
Because
So-
he's not being able to arrest the big
Big
fish.
Yeah,
fish.
right.
So
And-
arrest the big fish, let's say.
Well,
Wouldn't that
yeah,
be a
but-
way to concede?
but
Partly.
but
Not fully.
will the
Part of, yeah.
you know
So you doubt he'll do that too?
no, because he's tied so much to the big fish, so how can he?
He's a whale.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, that
Interesting.
albatross yan eh.
Yeah, this is an
Pag
interesting.
itinuloy mo yung alliance mo dyan, and the people see that, it's you who's going to lose credibility. And I think this is the problem with the short-termism of people like Pangilinan and Bam Aquino.
But so you don't think it's sequentialism rather than shortism? Like, okay, now let's just let Marcos finish it, and in 2020, yari namin pareho.
No.
Hindi pwede sequential? Why
No.
should it be shorter?
No. All I'm trying to say is that whatever the Marcoses do, one is allying with them in the public eye is a loss for you. The second thing that I would like to say is that do not think for one moment that the exercise of violence will just be on one side. Okay?
Sure.
So what I'm trying to
We're
say
both
here,
from Ilocos. We know what
yeah, we know that there is always that possibility coming from both camps, no?
Kaya nga sabi ni Colonel Ambok noong September 21 and November 30, we are not for RevGov or military junta, kung narinig mo yung kanyang clause, for now. Nakalagay yung sa statement.
So,
Yeah,
Ambo,
it was
Bishop
there.
Cardinal.
For
no,
now.
hindi.
Ibig sabihin, kung
Yeah.
merong gagawin ng Marcoses, crossing that line,
Like
it will be
change the
different. It will be
constitution.
different. It will
Yeah.
be different.
So, civil disobedience, uncivil disobedience.
Whatever. Like, kung
So-
walang mapakulong ngayon January, at early February, you have a new nationwide rally on February 20.
Na hindi INC.
Yeah.
Na hindi INC. Yeah.
So it will be bigger than September 21 or November 20. And November 30. But
How many days will
it's
that rally
going to be, again,
It's,
since the progressive movement cannot mobilize that much number, it will be
That's
led
the threat, yeah.
no, by the Catholic Church. No, 86 dioceses will mobilize. There will be a march from Santo Domingo to EDSA, no, and there will be international packets of the same activity.
Around the
No?
world.
But it will be anti-corruption. No? And if walang makulong na big fish sa January and February, babaling yung tira na yan sa gobyerno.
But
So you're not willing to wait, Walden, for that conditionality?
no, I think we should move
No,
beyond that because, for all intents and purposes, compared to the INC, the Catholic Church mobilization capability is very weak.
Was not there.
No, seriously. I-compare mo September, November, compare that to the 650,000 that came out.
In January
For-
also.
i-
January, 1
yeah.
million. 1 million in January.
Yes, but their influence
Yeah.
is more deep with terms of business, in terms of the
Maybe.
military, no, than the church,
Maybe.
than the Iglesia ni
Yeah.
Cristo.
Yeah.
Dahil Iglesia ni
Yeah.
Cristo madaling bilhin eh.
Yeah.
Binili sila just
Yeah.
recently, then they stopped.
Yeah.
Di ba yung ganun eh, no? Mas
Sure.
strategic mag-isip yung,
Yeah.
no? Mas
Yeah.
hindi transactional. Yun naman ang kaibahan nila.
Yeah. Yeah.
No? At saka, that's
Pero-
86 dioceses. Alam mo ba, nung November 30, hindi lumabas sa news, you have 20,000 mobilizing Cebu City, led by the new bishop.
The nationwide.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yung ganun ba na ako?
Ang concern ko lang dito is that
Interesting.
I do not think that overall the mobilizing capability of the church can match that of the INC. Secondly,
So then
I
you're
don't
affirming
think
that Duterte comes or
hold on.
stronger.
But I don't think likewise that the political leadership should come from the Catholic Church. No, the reason
Yeah,
They
yeah,
also
we agree,
themselves-
we agree.
they
the
also
reason
agree themselves.
I'm
agree.
saying this is that I'm worried about the subtext of these mobilizations between Catholics and INC. Because let's face it, the Catholic Church lost a lot of credibility during the RH debate. No? Nawala yan ng credibility. And I worry that they are seeing this political arena as a way to regain credibility vis-a-vis the evangelicals. Kasi alam naman natin, the evangelicals, whether
Just like in Brazil, just like in Nigeria,
they are the
countries, yeah.
religious group on the momentum. No? So, ang sense ko is that let's make sure that this is really a secular struggle. You know?
Yes,
And
pero
it-
Walden, yun nga yung hamon ng Catholic Church sa atin.
So where are your secular leaders?
Where are the political leaders? Why are they not here? Yun yung habol nila because we can only provide limited role here because hindi kami papasok dyan. Mismo si Ambo sabi niya, I'm not a cardinal sin. No,
Yeah.
I'm not a cardinal
He doesn't
sin.
wanna be one.
No, at kaya ang habol nila ay to help create the condition para pumasok yung alternative leaders. Ang pumapasok
Yeah, yeah.
lang are the Heidi Mendozas, the Cielo Magnus of this world. Sila yung nandun.
Well, that is, I agree
Yeah,
with you
yeah,
there,
yeah.
that therefore there is the challenge for especially new political leaders to emerge. Ito yung challenge ngayon eh.
100%.
Kasi it's great that Risa is there, no? For instance, she could provide some sort of a rallying cry with
Vico
her record.
Soto, like, is it- are you with Vico?
But beyond that is you do need, tama si Ronald, you do need the leaders to come from, the newer sectors or the newer generations. And the same way that they came out in Indonesia, in Nepal, in Bangladesh. Yun ang hinahanap natin ngayon.
But
Kasi,
that's revolutionary, a bit uncivil disobedience.
Well,
Okay with that?
Well, iba-iba naman bawat bansa. Iba yung Nepal,
Yeah.
iba yung Indonesia. No,
the people
I would
in...
like to be Indonesia. If you know what I mean.
But you just said we are not those we are
Yeah,
not
that's
aggressive
why,
type.
I know.
Ito lang
They
kasi
live in
yung...
Oh, yung masasabi ko
500,000
din.
citizens.
Ito lang kasi yung...
Mga falangist ka eh.
Ito lang kasi yung my beef with Cardinal David was that, he
Ayun na.
basically started that speech marginalizing Luneta and Mendiola.
Okay.
No?
Now I see where you're
And,
okay.
whereas
Okay.
he could
So
have
yung pala
been
yung hugot.
unifying from the very beginning.
Paliwanag ko lang yung hugot niya.
Can you explain
Yung
the
hugot
other
kasi
side?
niya,
Yeah.
yung announcement na Luneta, no, ay iisa lang kami. No, iisa lang yung even the EDSA is for resign all. Doon siya nag-react. Ba't kami nilabel na katulad nila? Hindi kami nag-usap. Kaya doon siya nagalit. No? Doon siya nagalit na, bakit tayo ginagamit ito mga to? At ang pinanggalingan niyan, yung historic na panggagamit. Yun yung hugot niya. Kaya nung nagharap sila, niremind niya yung nangyari sa sa 80s. No? Yung niremind niya, ito yung ginagawa niyo dati. No? Tapos gagawin niyo uli ngayon. No? Yun yung hindi yung siyempre yung pag may buong coalition take over. No? Yung
Ano ba yung revolutionary vanguard?
yung
Vanguardism.
yung original bayan project.
Nalala ko ng kabataan ko.
Yun. Tapos yung pag-boycott ng EDSA.
Yes.
Yun yung kanyang.
Bumalik yung kanyang.
Tapos nakita niya, nire-label tayo na lahat tayo resign all, lahat tayo pro-RevGov, lahat tayo. Doon siya nagalit. Kaya pinapaliwanag ko lang where he's coming from without justifying yung kanya sila.
Okay. So, ang important din naman sa akin is that maaari naman tayo mag-usap, pero pag ilalabas mo ito sa malaking speech, the first one, okay, sisimula mo with an exclusionary rather than inclusionary.
Pero Walden,
Iba yun.
Kaya sinabi yun dahil naging public na rin yung pag-label nila na tayo ay maka. Kaya yun yung pinanggaling.
So you should not have
Parang
Walden?
he has to clarify this also publicly.
Well,
yun yung pinanggaling. Dahil nauna kasi yung kumbaga first blood, unang sinabi na, iisa lang ito, lahat ito ay ganito, no.
I think what was the rhetorics of Luneta was isa lang tayo, okay? He might have been reacting to that, but the point is that assert unity first rather than separation. That's the first thing. Then remember doon sa when he went to his speech, he had a total misunderstanding of Gen Z. Yung mga September 21 demonstrations in Mendiola. These were youth that was disenfranchised, marginalized. They were rallying under the One Piece flag, okay? Very much like in Nepal, Indonesia and in Bangladesh.
I beg to disagree.
But just look at those people like Ezra Akayan, no? Who was there. He says, hindi ito organisado ng mga...
It's organized. I even talk with their organizers. Sabi ko,
yung mga gangs.
Ba't nyo naman ginawa ito? Ganyan. So,
that happened in Nepal, by the way. There were gangs organized.
Iba yung sa Nepal, talaga spontaneous siya.
No. In Nepal, I talked to people. They were also politicians who hired youth gangs to destroy documents that would have
Pero
implicated
it was a
them.
mix and match bigger. Itong sa yung September 21, it's much smaller.
But who? Who would organize that? The Dutertes?
No. Sympathetic to the Dutertes.
Well,
Gusto ko na, mamaya bubulong ko sa iyo kung sino at saka anong grupo. No? It's a religious sect.
Okay.
Which organized that, no? Yun yung kanila. At yung nag-organize, inamin. No? Yung ganun inamin. Na ito yung... Ang problema, nauna sila na nakalimutan, na nagkaroon ng problema dahil yung main force na dapat kasama nila umatras at that time. No? So, yung mga naiwan, yun yung lumusog. Although kasama dapat yan with a much bigger.
So it was a botched.
It was a much bigger force.
Okay. Well,
it was supposed to be 500,000.
Yeah.
Yun ang sinasabi ko. Kaya,
okay.
Yes,
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
But I still think that characterizing those people when as people na Molotov cocktail throwers, okay, mask gangsters, etc.
Ano yung paggawa ng Molotov is organized. Hindi yung spontaneous. Dahil matagal nang walang Molotov No? So,
Walden, we have to separate between yung nakikiskisan at saka yung talagang hard guns.
Yeah. But,
but mismo yung mga usual left, mismo sila nagulat Sino to? Hindi namin kasama ito.
So, you're totally ignoring the possibility that there were other forces other than...
might have been, but all I'm trying to say...
Not dominant force.
But all I'm trying to say is that I can understand why these enfranchised youth were in the forefront. no, of that event. Kasi
Subaltern,
sinabi naman ng mga iba, I mean, of course, that's Ronald, okay? But there were others that said, we were there. These were not organized people. These were people from the,
Actually,
who were just spontaneously there, no? So,
Actually, yung 11 na hinuli, tsaka yung isa na nabalil sa paa, yung isa ang tumubo sa kanila. It was a religious
So there were saboteurs. There were saboteurs.
Well, hindi saboteurs. They were part of a much bigger project before.
that failed.
That big project umatras last minute. So ang naiwan was part of that vanguard na hindi nasabihan. Yun ang sinasabi ko. Ngayon, tama si Walden, pwedeng may mga elements niyan na talagang galit ng mga kabataan. Ang sinasabi ko lang, the vanguard of that attack.
And there's an argument in favor of civil disobedience.
Is an organized group.
ang problema din sa argument na yan, Ronald, okay, I'm not saying one, is that kasama ako dyan sa bata ako eh.
Hindi, iba yun.
Sa mga ganyan, yung mga, attacks like that, Genoa, Seattle, spontaneous lahat yan.
Hindi, pero
and we were, and ang atake sa amin, lagi ng pulis, ng kanan, ng gobyerno, is that organized kayo ng mga bad forces. No, so that's why I'm really skeptical of saying that this was a planned conspiracy.
Because I know firsthand who organized it. Saan nila ginawa yung Molotov? Sino nag-train sa kanila? Hindi to ko na spontaneous Molotov.
So hindi ba solution dyan? Bakit i-dispose sila ng progressive
actually, mga
forces?
Gen Z, hindi marunong gumawa ng Molotov yan. No? At maganda yung mga Molotov na ginawa. May halong styrofoam, may halong sugar, may halong itlog. Kaya pag binato mo doon sa container van na bakal, nag-i-stick eh. So it's not that, sinasabi ko lang,
parang homemade napalm.
Yeah, kaya ang sinasabi ko lang, those who organize it, na nakausap ko, malinaw sa kanila.
So Walden, we have a different reading.
Nag-away pa nga sila dahil yung umatras na bigger group, sabi nila, bakit sila tumuloy? Sabi namin,
So nag-rogue.
Hindi nag-rogue, hindi nasabihan. Na atras muna tayo. No?
Detachment sila.
Yun lang sinasabi ko kay Walden.
Whether some of them were organized or not. Malaki talaga ang hinanakit ng kabataan.
Legitimate grievance.
Legitimate grievance. Some of them might have been organized. I'm not doubting that. No? But in any mass action, there are always organized and unorganized forces.
It's going to be mixed.
And the reason that I'm sympathetic to that is that I was in so many of these mobilizations, where we were tagged as being
to delegitimize your
right. Tanggap ko yun, Walden. Ako nga, okay nga ako in the future. Ang sinasabi ko lang, for this September 21, it was basically organized. Ilocano pa nga nagpondo eh. Hulaan mo kung sino. May Ilocano political scoundrel.
Yung ba yung nagsabi bakit hindi sila nag-unify sa akin?
May press con bukas.
Ba't ayaw na mag-unify sa akin?
May expose tsaka press con bukas.
Di umano.
Yun lang ako dahil medyo privy ako dun sa at kausap ko yung nag-organize.
So I think we have to agree that we have a different reading of the mixture of facts. What we can agree on is there was a mix. What we cannot agree on is...
I agree with Walden, nagalit ang kabataan. Pero yung kabataan na yan are not yet that...
And whoever that...
hindi pa ganyan sila hindi pa sila ganyan ka-intense to be able to fix 1,000 Molotovs and pillbox, para lumusob sa Malaki. Wala pa sila sa ganung level.
My point is the two things could actually coexist. They're angry youth with legitimate grievances, and then there's a legitimate war with people who are organized to do something.
And the only other thing here is
Huwag mo
that...
kalimutan maraming mga kwandon.
They can coexist.
May mga leftists na injured. Na-injure sila because of this group.
And
si Attorney Conti. Yung grupo na yan. They were injured.
I interviewed her about that.
Mismo sila nagulat
And whoever...
Parang sinasabi nila, hindi amin to.
And whoever that person na sinasabi ni Ronald could have organized some of these people, the problem is that the problem is not because he was Ilocano.
Oh, no.
Tsaka yung nag-organize hindi Ilocano. Nag-pondo. Yung nag-pondo.
Let's be clear, he used to not represent any of our... Let's go to the last part. Let's be constructive. Siguro each of us wrapping up. What is our theory of change, Ronald? If you're gonna give like a blueprint sige, a draft of a blueprint. Of course, we're just one person, right? What should be the path forward? And then, of course, going to the issue of Gen Z, what do we really know about that 42%, 40% now, undecided, and the majority Gen Z millennial voters? What do we know about them? Because depending on what we know about them, we should cater to that reality to form the basis for a political transformation project, right?
Yung tanong mo pa lang, 2 hours na eh. Di yung sagot ko, 8 hours.
Sir, you know that alam mo, you're the foil for me. I mean, this is really me. You're just the background. Parang Trump ka eh. You guys are just there. You highlight me.
Teka. I think before you go, I think before you, no, I think before you go into that, I think before you go into that, I think si JC wanted to say something on that
JC,
part.
you start na lang na, no?
Yeah.
I actually forgot.
Do you disagree
No,
with
sila muna. Because this
Yeah, sige, organize mo na ito. Sige, let's start with you, Ron. Like, what is your theory
The
of the way
elements of the
forward?
future is already here.
Okay.
No, kinakailangan na lang siyang palakihin at palalimin. The outrage is unprecedented. Hindi ko pa nakita ito since
Because
the
the corruption is
80s.
unprecedented.
Diba? And it's across demographics. No? Across regions. Kailangan lang na may mag-harness niyan and a political leader or leaders na tatayo to lead them in a political project for now, which is 2028. The project at 2028 ay i-reject itong dalawang dynasties na ito. Most especially the Dutertes. Dahil the Dutertes will kill us all. No?
So if this is the Dante Alighieri 7 circus of level 7,
Pero the project should go, the political project goes beyond 2028. Ang ayaw mo lang sa 2028 ay
Bumalik kung mga-
pagilan itong unit team, no? Lalong-lalo na yung kalahati ng unit team na papatayin tayo lahat. No?
May listahan na eh.
Yeah, yun yung
I think
yun
you
yung-
rank slightly higher than me or
si Walden nandun.
Si Walden. I think magdi-defect yan. He will join the other admin.
Tapos ngayon, tingin ko 2026 will be an inflection point. 2026 will be
100%. This year is the year.
defining,
That's it.
No?
Yeah.
It's not 2027. Dapat pagdating ng 2027,
Nakalatag na.
The leadership, no, the machinery, the branding, and the attacks on our enemies na define
And
niya.
standard bearer? Dapat may standard bearer
Yeah,
na.
yung sinasabi ko political leadership. Ano ko ba? No? Ano ba?
Pwede naman, leaders, parang big fish, pwede plural, pwede singular, hindi naman big fishes.
So, by 2027, yung mga hunta-hunta na yan, wala na yan. Dahil election fever na sa...
tapos
the possibility of a junta is
this year.
2026.
Huntahan na lang.
Oh, yeah.
Humbaan na lang, humbaan na lang.
2027 will be a different
Humbaan na
year.
lang.
Election fever na yan.
Yeah.
Pagpasok ng election fever, dahil malinaw na yung ating
political
agenda,
moment.
no? Going there.
And you're still cautiously optimistic.
Unless, halimbawa, may magka-create ng martial law o state of emergency sa 2026. Na sinasabi nga ni Walden, from his vantage point, ay hindi improbable.
Yeah, but
No?
this year is ASEAN chair tayo and the world leaders.
Yes, yes, indeed.
I'm not saying
Yes.
Marcos is the perfect Democrat. Just
Yes.
this is his year to shine international kapogi.
So you will have a transitional platform
Macron is coming, Trump is
catering partly to the problems of corruption, of impunity, of dynasties, of a neoliberal system, pero kailangan mo rin ng elements of something new, something which is progressive, no? Kaya kailangan natin yung mga tipo nila Walden, who is not part of the neoliberal mode, no? So it's a mixture of this political project going there. Pero wag mong kalimutan, wag mong i-underestimate, Filipinos are looking to a leader. No? Hindi mo yan mababago for now.
Di ba hero?
No. Yeah.
Messiah.
Something heroic.
I need a hero.
Yeah,
I'm
something
looking out
heroic.
for a hero at the end of time.
No, something heroic with a brand. Hindi pwede dito walang brand. No, kahit ang dami mo ng magandang ginawa, kung wala kang brand na mag-a-appeal, lalo na sa
Mamarkahan
kabataan,
ka dapat.
who is 2/3 of all voters, then, delikado yung project mo. Delikado yung project mo.
Well,
Alright,
Anyway.
that's perfect. Sensei?
sabi nga ni
Ayan na. Kuya Vali.
yung kaibigan mo,
Ayan na.
Ronald, si Kiko Barsaga, he's willing to be the martyr.
Yun! Meow.
Okay, but let's go beyond. No,
Papahinga pa yung bata eh.
Okay.
Pinal po na.
No, but just aside on that, no, is hindi ako nag-agree doon sa suspension niya for 60 days.
So Barzaga 5 ka na, 6 ka na, Barzaga
6 na ako. Okay.
With an ex-congressman.
Free speech was being subordinated to decorum. And that's crazy. Alam ko naman.
Na-ethics ka rin dati, di ba?
Kaya nga sympathetic ako kay Barzaga, na-ethics ako.
Sinagaw, di ba? Yung
Personal, siya nauna, ako hindi pa rin personal ng grata sa Davao. Siya
In any
personal
event,
ng grata.
agree naman ako that we need to have a project. Fully agree. Now, the thing is, I made it a point earlier that it is important for this project to disattach itself from the Marcoses to gain credibility. No? And hindi lang yon. I think they need to, in fact, present a positive, a positive program and a positive image about the kind of change. No? Kasi right now, laging defensive.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, it's to prevent the Dutertes from coming back. No? And I don't think that's going to cut it. No? So, napaka-importante itong positive vision and program. At hindi lang yan. Sa tingin ko, they have to develop the narrative no? That can connect with the masa. Kasi ang genius ng mga Dutertes is that they can connect with the masa.
They speak the language.
They speak that, whereas the Pinklawans just, whatever their intentions
chattering classes,
are tama, chattering classes yan. And because pag nagsasalita, anong dating sa masa ng mga good governance kundi isang elite project na naman yan. Hypocritical yan, etc. Disente. Gente disente. Hindi yan uubra ngayon. So, mahalaga talaga yung discourse ng masa na ma-develop itong project na ito. And then, hindi lang defensive, pero positive.
Correct.
And then the other thing is that let's face it, no? Na awayan through democracy ito, no? And whether you like it or not, you have to analyze the Duterte forces. Who do you peel away? If there's people that are peelable away, you have to realize the 48%.
Yes.
Hindi kasama si Harry Roque.
Yeah, and et cetera, et cetera. So, dapat may analysis na yan para yung program at rhetoric
100%.
and discourse can be articulated. No? So, kasi labanan niya ng democracy. Nakita na naman natin na whether it was with Hitler or with Trump, trying to criminally eliminate through criminal procedure
Backfires.
a populist figure backfires.
Unless he's stuck in Hague for life. I mean.
No, what I mean is
Actually, that also kind of backfired
Sarah, no?
Yeah.
I mean, my
The
35% solid yan, no?
yeah.
So, let's not rely on that. Let's rely on
Beat them in
democratic debate and winning people over through politically. So, sa tingin ko, that's where I think na doon dapat nakafocus. Hindi defensive, affirmative, my vision, my discourse, and sasabak sa masa in order to win them over.
Yeah, ang problema lang, Walden, hindi pwede yung sa ating sitwasyon ngayon. You have 2.5 years before the 2028. Hindi yan pwedeng slow burn, no? Because as we speak, itong mga Duterte are planning not only for a comeback, they're planning for something extra-constitutional. Lalo na kung makakasuhan si Sara ng plunder sa ombudsman.
Yeah.
Diba? Lalo na kung kakasuhan yung kanyang kapatid for the 51 billion na nilagay niya sa kanyang distrito sa Davao. Lalo na kung kukunin ng ICC si Bongo
At bato.
early this year. No? So, may mga ganong elements na hindi natin kontrolado. Hindi natin kontrolado ICC. No? Wala tayo sa gobyerno. Hindi natin kontrolado yung ombudsman at saka itong korte. Dahil very clear naman yung formally no? Inupuan lang ng previous ombudsman. Very clear yan. It's not martyrdom No? It's not martyrdom. Because these people killed 35,000 people. No? Hindi ito ordinary criminals. Hindi ito ordinary serial killers. No? Kanya nga mismo
They're
ICC.
not the usual dynasties.
So it's not about making them martyrs. No? kailangan talaga silang tapusin. Either through the international court or sa ating courts ngayon. Which is constitutional. Yun naman sinasabi ko. At dapat yan mangyari soon dahil nga it cannot be slow burn. Educating people is good.
Yeah,
diba?
but
it takes time.
But
Yeah.
ang problema is that you have
It's a debate.
to
It's a legitimate
you have to win in a democratic way. You have to
But
win
the other
a
side is not
majority.
playing by the
I
rules.
agree.
So
No.
I agree with them.
Basically,
I agree.
the other side basically is saying that we have this 35%, and we are going to face you in the polls. That's very clear.
But they're also calling for and people power.
I don't know, but they know that their strong, whether we like it or not, their strongest bet
They're strong
right now
electorally,
is
absolutely.
the electorally. No, so our
You think we have
challenge.
enough time to beat? I mean, because
We have no
I
choice.
and Ronald are a bit more skeptical.
We have no
they're
choice.
Strong, too strong.
I
perhaps,
think
for
we have no
30%.
choice because if we're going to do it in a
It has to be
democratic
done in
fashion,
the proper way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Pandora's box na naman yan.
yeah.
Okay, I think we can keep it there. Because Ronald, I think people can realize for their own, there's some differences.
And this is a continuing discussion.
Yeah, we will have this. But,
Eh,
but he wants kasi already, parang abduction na. Palitan na si Marcos. I'm just kidding. Oh, ikaw,
No.
Well, nga. Daming, we discussed Bolshevik Revolution, we discussed Transitional Council, junta, humba, lahat. What is your read? What should be the way forward for progressive liberal forces?
I'll be all progressive liberal. Yeah, the last person.
All my joke, Falangis aside, I consider you progressive enough at least.
Sa akin, but
Not in that Bolshevik way. I mean, in the democratic, pluralistic way.
what I would aspire, what would I like basically is a sense of normalcy as we lead to 2028.
Sense
no?
of not. That's like the hardest.
Ever.
This whole episode was
Yeah.
walang normal.
So the
Everything is
So the
abnormal.
thing basically for me is that
Yeah.
I would see that the greatest threats to democracy are dealt with. When I say greatest threats, we know those who will kowtow to China, those who will sell us out to China. That is dealt with. We don't have enough time. It's like 2.5 years, 2 years.
Wala, 1 year na lang actually.
Oh, 1 year left for that. No, so basically, given the resources that we have, and given the situation, the motivations or whatever, I cannot speak for them because they're political operators at the same time. Hindi naman ako political operator.
Hindi naman ako political operator.
You
Si
look,
Ronald is.
you look like a political operator.
Parang sinabi yun in a negative way.
So sa akin, I just what I would
Gigolo na lang. Gigolo and political operator.
what
Uy,
I
mas
would
gigulo
want
sa akin.
that yung bang yung bang mag-focus sa the thing that is the most dangerous, Especially right now that we are living in very interesting times globally, Like what happened, we just talked about Venezuela, Hindi Valenzuela. Venezuela,
Although we hope that for Gatchalians, pray for Gatchalians. Mga tao talaga, grabe. Dinamay mga Gatchalians.
So the thing here is that, yung bang alam natin ngayon na magiging mas fluid ang mundo, that the world will be a more difficult place to
Wild,
live in.
yeah, it's a
Our
wild.
ally is now becoming a bit iffy. We don't really know what our ally is going to do, if it's going to sell us down the drain to China or be. I mean, we can kiss.
Or push us into a confrontation. with
We
China.
can actually kiss. We can actually kiss ironclad defense guarantees goodbye now at this point in time with the Trump administration. So we have so much things in our plate. So that being said, you have China now emboldened and encouraged by that. They see what's going on in the U.S. They see the U.S. is actually giving them opportunities to legitimize and give credibility to what they have been actually doing in the past. Now they can use Venezuela as an excuse.
Latest example.
Yeah, as an example. The blowing up of, even the
Nigeria.
execution of the two survivors of the boat, that were found and they were just
Venezuela.
summarily killed by the U.S. military. That also strengthens China now. So we're dealing with that. And locally, we have a problem with the pro-China factions here. So I would like that to be dealt with. So this democratic space that we have, because we have democratic, to the credit, we have democratic space. Actually, I thought that this country was going to the dogs.
Completely done deal.
Done after 2022. But actually, medyo
in fairness.
the democratic space maintained was even strengthened,
Yeah.
diba? So I want to see that continued post 2028, no?
Generate.
And there's only one way that will happen is if that faction from Davao is not allowed to regain power, you know? And then from there, maybe now that's the time for our one political operator and our political analyst here, our sensei, our
ideologue.
to have now the necessary time to operationalize the plans. Because right now, I remember we had EDSA 2, and then we were saying that, you have to replace ERA, blah, blah, blah. And then it was an extra-constitutional affair. And then what did we get? We got the Arroyo administration, which was also a headache of its own, you know. So, that being said, if this thing is mishandled, whatever is going to happen now is mishandled, you know, we're going to end up with the Dutertes in power, you know, and I don't like that. But if they are marginalized to the point that they cannot make a national comeback, I mean, they can have Davao, they can secede for all I care, you know. But if they're marginalized, and then maybe doesn't have to be an ally of this gentleman. It doesn't have to be an ally of them. It can be somebody, you know, but we just allow the democratic space to continue. Then their schemes, their plotting, will now have more time to generate. Then this is what Ronald was saying that, ano ba yan? You cannot, you make kulu-kulu, the fire, was it? The kulu-kulu, ano sabi mo kanina? Yung kulu-kulu?
Slow burn.
Slow burn.
Yun.
So may slow burn effect ka na kasi may democratic space ka pa. Yeah.
Which will be game over if Duterte's come back.
Exactly.
I can see our ideologue is worried. Walden, you want to say one last
It's okay.
Nauna si Walden sa listahan, kaya sa akin eh.
But let's.
But Walden is-
I want to come back to what you know, why it's the electoral struggle that's really going to be important, no? And why we really need to understand why that 35% is so solid, plus some others.
100%.
I mean, there's the question of regionalism, fine.
Solid South,
okay?
100%.
The solid South. There's also a disgust with what they consider to be the hypocrisy of the yellow crowd.
Liberalism,
Okay? And then there's resentment at the, you know, the north-south. You know,
I am no, steer clear of
Right?
not add to 7 cities. Oh.
Wala akong babanggitin dyan.
and we
just
need
give
to
away.
Yan
understand.
ba yung Sub-Saharan Africa?
We need to understand why they have such a base.
Yeah.
And if we don't,
You're the sociologist,
you know,
yeah.
if we don't try to understand at that level, whatever the results of 2028 is, you have a permanent force that's there.
I fully agree, Walden.
Yeah,
No? Ang
yeah.
sinasabi ko lang, it's not that permanent. Ang tinitingnan ko is
There's
not
still a
absolute. Ang
fragility.
tinitingnan ko are not the absolute numbers. Ang tinitingnan ko are the movement of numbers. Huwag mong kalimutan, ha? Si Digong,
90%.
93%. The highest, higher than Hitler, no? In terms of approval rating of any
Saddam, not
any
Saddam.
president of the Philippines, no?
Yeah.
And yet, bumaba rin naman yan kahit
Yeah,
pa
yeah. Yeah,
no?
no, no.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Ikalawa,
Yeah.
nung panahon ni Digong, wala akong mahanap na OFW na critical kay Digong. Wala akong makita. Ngayon, nagsasalita ako sa Berlin, sa Paris, sa Vienna, sa Milan,
Gigolo.
Rome.
sa New York, sa New Jersey, sa DC, no?
Yeah.
Sa Tokyo, sa Yokohama,
Ako kanina sa
no?
DC,
Sa Hong
District of
Kong.
Cavite.
Alam mo, maraming
JC.
OFW in their hundreds. Inaamin, Duterte kami dati. Ngayon hindi
So
na.
you're saying it
Ang
can be
sinasabi ko lang,
Agree.
yung sinasabing solid, pwede yang kunin.
Yeah, agree.
Oh,
That's
pwede
why
yan.
that's the challenge. Yung sinasabi ko, agree ako that there are all of these
Soft
people.
TDS, yeah.
And that's why we need to study the
Win them
social
over.
psychology
Yeah.
and then win them over. But if we're just going to be satisfied with
Ay,
defensive
hindi.
moves,
Hindi.
you know,
Just exclude them.
criminal
Remove them
impeachment
out.
and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Hindi, ang sinasabi ko lang,
no, agree ako. You know.
Impeachment is part of democracy.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, ibang usapin yung ibang impeachment. Pero impeachment is
Yeah.
part of democracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tapos itong mga ito, umiiyak. Sa Paris, no? Umiiyak. Sa Tokyo, Yokohama, umiiyak. Dahil nga, nabudol sila. At they believed it. They believed the Duterte narrative.
May namula.
Tapos na nakita nila, ganun pala yun. They
Right.
were crying, ha? No?
Yeah, of course.
Yan yung,
Yeah.
sinasabi ko lang, pwede silang kumbinsihin. Kailangan lang, huwag masyadong judgmental yung ating mga kasama. Halimbawa, I just received information, nagagalit yung mga pink na OFW sa isang bansa dahil nirecruit daw namin yung mga DDS na OFW. Kung hindi natin nirecruitin yun, that's 93%, di ba? We have to get
So I think we have an agreement on that. no?
yeah, we have.
Mamani did that, right?
Yeah, we have to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the challenge, so that in the elections, we can beat them.
Yeah.
But that's the democratic challenge. I mean, that's the thing. And again, I would just like to say, because you did ask me to mention,
Yeah.
okay, that definitely, I think that the person I think best as a standard bearer is
Risa.
Risa Hontiveros, because of her record and everything. However, she should be very careful about who she takes as endorsers. Because you don't want
Definitely not, Ronald.
you don't
Llamas.
want
Ay, grabe!
you don't want
Akala ko safe na tayo eh.
you don't
safe
want
ka na sa track.
an endorsement that would
Negative endorsement. na
every
tawag
time
dyan.
he speaks, he
It
takes
brings
50,000
Yeah.
votes from you.
Yeah.
So I would advise the august senator, who's also a friend,
Right, August.
not to entertain endorsements from certain people. It's not Ronald, no?
Yeah.
Because Ronald would never do that. But take Trillanes. Trillanes has a universal reputation as an opportunistic person. And he's not the sort of guy you want going around saying, Risa for president. Okay?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Has he?
Yeah, Trillanes is pro Risa.
Yeah.
Pero in fairness
critical of Lenny.
and in fairness kay Trillanes,
He stood up to
he was
Duterte.
very consistent against the Duterte.
Dutertes.
Even when nobody was speaking.
Ah, but
He risked his life.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Walden.
Yeah.
Come on.
Especially this
We
ICC
have to
thing.
give,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
tomorrow.
But in any event, what I'm just trying to say
Okay, be
is
careful.
that
I
be
see what you're
careful,
saying.
who you...
Aside from Ronald, be careful.
Yeah, right. No, but Ronald, they have a great history together.
No. I think we can. I think we can end this.
Friend zone na ako ni Risa eh.
Lord de Veyra, you want to say
Political history.
Okay.
I did not.
All right. Okay. I think I'm gonna do my New Year resolution
Okay.
and not say much anymore for the first time, less than 5%.
Yeah,
Just
to
kidding.
our question.
Basta let's not lose the forest for the trees, but let's not also forget the dangerous tree in the forest. That's basically the synthesis of the entire post-abduction Venezuela, I don't know,
Maduro.
simulacra, what happened episode. Thank you so much for joining this apparently very long episode. We went across Latin America and all the way ended up here sa away ng Katipuneros dito sa...
Very long. Dahil yung tanong, 2 hours na eh.
Not to mention personal fights. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode ng Marxism and Marcos. Thank you.